Position to Win is a community for women who are on a journey to put themselves in position to win, in pageantry and in life. On the Position to Win podcast, current and former local, state, national, and international title holders from various systems give you insight into their journeys, tips and tricks, and of course, authentic, unfiltered conversation. Here you will find the motivation you need to take up space, shatter glass ceilings, serve with intention, and fiercely chase crowns. This is not just for pageant girls. This is where we find what we need to put ourselves in position to win. I'm your host, Jada Samuel. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Position to Win. I am thrilled about today's episode. This is going to be amazing. From Johnstown, New York, which I had to Google, and I found out that it's closest to Albany, New York.
Yep.
Living in Charlotte, North Carolina, a graduate of the University of South Carolina in 2020 with a degree in chemical engineering, an application engineer, formerly at R.E. Mason in Charlotte, North Carolina, a STEM advocate, former Miss North Carolina USA, and our current Miss USA, Morgan Romano. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm sorry my voice sounds so bad and so hoarse.
Listen, you've been on the go, so you have every reason for your voice to be somewhat gone throughout all of this. So people are here to talk pageants. They're here to listen to what you have to say about pageants and, of course, life, because this is Position to Win, and you know they were going to give the people a little bit more than pageantry. But let's start with pageants. You've competed in the MAO system. You started as a teen. You competed in America, USA, and now you are Miss USA. So let's go back to your pageant roots. Where did it all begin for you?
Yes, so definitely a journey. I started my first time I competed when I was 14. So I always grew up dancing and being on stage, and I didn't know anything about pageants. I just loved to dance and I loved to perform. And when I was 14, there was a teen pageant for the America system in New York. And my mom forced me to do it because you didn't actually have to compete. It was just an essay contest. And if you won the essay contest, you got $1,000 towards whichever college you wanted. And they just wrote you a scholarship check. So my mom told me I had to do it. It'd be such a great experience. So I wrote the essay and I won Miss Fulton County's Outstanding Teen. And I didn't even know that they were going to send me to Miss New York's Outstanding Teen, and they just ended up asking me if I wanted to compete. I knew absolutely nothing about it. I said yes, and me and my mom drove into the city, just me and my mom, and I didn't even wear makeup. I didn't have a hair and makeup person. I didn't know how to do my own. I just seriously wore like mascara and straightened my hair, and I was somehow first runner-up at Miss New York's Outstanding Teen when I was 14. But I never competed after that really until college again because I just was so into school and dance, and that really wasn't something that I was so passionate about. And then when I went to college, my first year, it was all boys in engineering, and I really needed to find a way to make friends that were girls that shared common values with me and that I felt I could connect with and actually make some friends outside of school. So I decided to compete in the Miss America system, and that was my first year I competed in Miss South Carolina America, and I made the top 10. And then I competed 2 more years, and I was third runner-up, first runner-up, and I did South Carolina USA sprinkled in there, and I made the top 10 in USA. And then it was COVID, and there was no pageants, and I thought I was done with pageants. I was never going to compete for USA, and in COVID, just being at home and working from home, I kind of got the itch again of just like, I want to compete. I want to be around people who I love. It's like a family. And I really felt drawn to the USA system. And at that time, I started living in North Carolina because I had graduated and was living in Charlotte. So I competed in North Carolina USA, was second runner-up, and I just could not let the dream go. I felt like I had given so many years to it, so I competed one last time, in 2022, I said, this is it. If this is the plan for me, it's going to happen. And it did. And then I became Miss USA. So it's a journey.
I love that you told the entire story, because a lot of times people don't see that, you progress and then you regress and then you just don't know, because you can put all of this work in, but the outcome is simply just not up to you. But you always seem to make finals, or you placed in the top 10 or a runner up. And I know from personal experience that you sometimes can't explain like what's driving you to come back. But what was that driving factor or desire that you just knew you couldn't let it go that last year and you had to come back?
That is my personality type. When I have a goal, I cannot stop until I achieve that goal. And that is just embedded in me with anything that I do. And I truly did love it. And it was once a year that I got to go and I got to hang out with my friends and perform and be on stage. And I knew that I had a story to tell and that I could win. And I think that's what kept me going, because I felt like if I do win, I have a purpose. I have something that I want to give to the world and I want to serve. And I felt prepared if I did win. So thankfully it all worked out for me, but it definitely took me a really long time. But I'm grateful, because I think back, if I had won before, I wasn't ready. Wasn't ready like I am now. I didn't know myself like I know myself now. I wasn't comfortable in who I am like I am now. So it was all in perfect timing for me.
Oh my goodness. I could go on and on about people who have been on this podcast and just talked about the timing of it all. So that's really cool. So one of the things that I admired watching about your preparation for Miss USA was a lot of the mindset posts that you post. You said that it's your personality type to just keep going after it. If you're going to chase it down, you chase it down with all your might, kind of thing. But what was the difference in your mindset between all of the years that you competed in other systems and your mindset going into that last year at Miss North Carolina USA, and then the mindset shift to prepare for Miss USA? Tell me about where your thoughts were, what you were thinking about.
So I really believe that my last year that I competed, when I won Miss North Carolina, I won because I went there fully as Morgan Romano. And that was the first year that I did not listen to anyone else. Truthfully, I mean, wearing that orange dress at a state pageant, so many people said, don't do it. You're not going to win. It's too outside the box. It's not RPM Productions. But I didn't listen to anyone, and that was frustrating for a lot of people who for years had been giving me advice and who I had confided in. And that was the first year I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to do everything the way that I want. I'm going to interview the way that I want. I'm going to wear what I want. And if I don't make the top 5 or I go backwards, then I know that that's on me. And I was fully myself. And I let everything go, all the nerves, all of the expectation that I had put on myself to always make the 5 or to win, and was just fully confident in whatever happened. I thought if I win, it's going to be amazing, and that's what I worked so hard for. But if I don't win, I'm perfectly fine. I have a career. I gave it everything I could for years. I've learned so much about myself, about having a career, about being a businesswoman, about advocating for STEM, and I really don't need the title. And I think it's when you don't need it, that's when you get it, if that makes sense. It's a weird thing. It's when you go in and you're not desperate for it is when it happens for you. And that is what was different in my mindset for Miss North Carolina. And then especially for Miss USA, I felt like I had already achieved the biggest dream and goal that I ever had of winning a state and being Miss North Carolina. And Miss USA was just the icing on the cake because I was already a winner. And I was not nervous at all at Miss USA because of that. I really had the best time. It is crazy to me, though, because I've gone back and watched Miss USA, and the confidence and the comfortability, I'm just like, who is that girl? Like, I just let go. Even in my top 5 question, I remember sitting there and not an ounce of me was nervous. I just thought, I'm here to be myself and to be Morgan. And if they love that, then that's going to be amazing. And if they don't love me, that's on them, because I'm not for everyone. No one's for everyone. And I'm okay with that.
Hey, listen, I love talking about just being confident during that moment. Sometimes it's kind of like an out-of-body experience, and
For sure.
just watching you, I was like, she is floating. She's in the moment. Like, you can tell she's just enjoying this experience, and I think that's something that a lot of people lack. Like, you're in your head too much, or you overthink things, and that's when you don't enjoy it and you don't show up fully. So I enjoyed watching you thoroughly, and I'm sure that all the people who watched Miss USA can attest to that. Clearly the comments loved you, everybody loved watching you, so that was really cool. One of the things that stood out, not in the last question that you answered, but the question before, was that you knew who you were ready to serve if you were to become Miss North Carolina. Service is something that's really big to me, but obviously anyone in the pageant world has some sort of drive to serve their community in some capacity. And oftentimes people don't equate that service with, academic excellence, or, it doesn't make sense to people who aren't involved. So you studied chemical engineering, and that led to your passion for STEM. You spent time volunteering with Project Scientist, and you can tell us a little bit about Project Scientist and Out of the Box, but what do you hope that girls and children of all backgrounds gain from you specifically advocating for STEM education?
I think it's so important for younger girls to see that I am Miss USA, and that I'm also an engineer, and that I'm really passionate about STEM. And I always say you can't be what you can't see. And I never saw a woman who was multidimensional. I never even saw a female engineer, or even knew what engineering was, until my junior year of high school when I was 17 years old. So that's why it's been so important for me as Miss USA to go speak to girls and to get the younger generation involved in STEM at a younger age. And that did start when I started volunteering with Project Scientists. They're a nonprofit all across the country, but they are also based in Charlotte. And I was able to work with them before I even won Miss North Carolina, just as a volunteer. They help bring science and education to communities that may not have the resources to do that. It's an after-school program. You can have educational, you can get assistance for financial aid, I guess, if you're unable to have access to after-school programs. So the work that they do is absolutely amazing, and I knew that that was something I was so passionate about, and I started to see the marginal difference in so many different schools, and how many students really didn't have access to these after-school programs or to any type of STEM education at all. So being Miss USA and being able to go to different appearances in schools and in our community, and just showing that you can be multidimensional and you can be outside the box. And I donate science kits so that kids can have the opportunity to have a free STEM experience and to have that curiosity sparked in them at a younger age. And it has been such a blessing. It's something that I'm so passionate about. And I think that this year has been so life-changing for me, and hopefully for so many other girls who have gotten to see me be Miss USA and be an engineer.
Absolutely. It's true. The saying is true. You cannot be what you cannot see. And so one of the things that I want to know, and that I'm sure everyone else wants to know, you talked about being exposed to someone who was an engineer at 17. What led you to decide to pick that as a career? Where did that all stem from? I
always loved science. I was not naturally good at math. I actually was always the kid who they had to call my mom and say, she's not doing that good in math. She needs to study more. Maybe she needs help. Which a lot of people don't believe, since I am an engineer, but it's something that I had to work hard at, and it didn't come natural for me. And my junior year, when I was getting ready to go to the University of South Carolina and it was time to choose my major, I went to my chemistry professor in high school and told her I was thinking about doing chemistry as my major. And she was the first person who ever even mentioned engineering to me and said, I think that you should try chemical engineering. There's so many opportunities after college to be an engineer. The career spectrum is so broad. And I think it's something that you would be really good at. And I said, I'm not naturally good at math. And she was like, that doesn't matter. You can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to. If you want to be an engineer, then you can be an engineer. And I just checked the box after that conversation for chemical engineering, and I really did not know anything about it. And after my freshman year, I fell in love with it, and I thought it was so interesting. And that's kind of where that passion came from, of wanting to educate other girls, because she never had that conversation with me, I never would have become an engineer. I never had seen a female engineer. I never had anyone talk to me about the possibilities that you could have in the STEM workforce. So I'm really thankful for her. She completely changed the trajectory of my life in that 10-minute conversation.
I think that sometimes people don't realize the impact of sometimes those small conversations that they're having with people on the rest of someone's life. And clearly you've been able to have that kind of conversation with so many girls throughout your time as Miss USA now and Miss North Carolina USA. And that's something that you'll continue to get to do. I clearly value mentorship for anyone who's followed me outside of this podcast. So I just want to know, who are some of the women who have been influential in your life outside of your chemistry teacher? What does mentorship mean to you? How has that kind of shaped you in your year as Miss USA?
Yeah, it's everything. I really would not be the woman that I am today without mentorship and without so many amazing women giving so much time to me. So the engineering firm that I work for, I actually interned for starting when I was 19, when I was still in college at USC. And our vice president of the company, and we're a big company, for some reason just decided to take me under her wing and kind of mentor me a little bit through being an intern, and offered me a full-time position when I graduated in 2020. And she has mentored me so much in the engineering space and presenting and just personality of just like being a strong woman and sticking up for yourself and being a female in a male-dominated world. And even though that has nothing to do with pageants and that's my career, that has helped me a lot in pageantry and has shaped my mindset and who I am. And I'm so grateful for her, because I would not be Miss USA without her. I truly believe that. I would not be a successful engineer, and she does all of that just from the goodness of her heart and for wanting to create strong women. And that's what I hope to do as Miss USA, as well as to mentor younger girls and help them become strong women, because that's so important. That's the future of our world.
Absolutely. So everyone's getting to know Engineer Morgan. Everyone's getting to know Miss North Carolina or Miss USA Morgan. Let's talk about Morgan. You posted something on your Instagram not too long ago, and it was all of these quirky little videos that you'd collected over the last year or so, and you were really just showing off like your own personality, like who Morgan is. So I got to know you a little bit through competing together at Miss South Carolina and the Miss America Scholarship Organization. And one of the things that I thought was cool was that you were like a little bit of a nerd. And I was like, I like that. I like that she's a little bit of a nerd. So let's do some fun questions to help everyone get to know who Morgan is beyond being an engineer or beyond being Miss USA. So who are your top 3 artists that you listen to at all times to feel good?
Okay, you're going to make fun of me. Lord, everyone is going to make fun of me. My number one, you know how on Apple Music you can do your review at the end of the year? My number one was Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, of all people. But it's because every morning when I drive to my workouts, especially before Miss USA, I would wake up at 5:30, and you don't want to listen to real music. At least I don't. Like, I just want like something that's easy to listen to, and you just like are so tired driving to the gym. So Frank Sinatra was my number one. My number 2 would probably be, let's see, I really am into Morgan Wallen right now because he just released his new album, so I've been listening to that a lot, and it makes me feel like it's almost summer. So I like him right now. I kind of go through phases. It's so funny. And then, let's see, number 3, I just learned about, I'm going to get his name wrong probably, Zach Bryan. Have you ever heard of him?
I have not.
He's new and upcoming. Actually, my friends just showed me to him. It's so funny. I thought they were saying Zach Brown. They kept talking about him, like Zach Brown band,
like the
but with
country
a
artist.
yes, but with a Southern accent. Like they're like this Zach Brown song, and like I didn't know Zach Brown band had new music. They're like, no, it's Zach Bryan. He's a new upcoming. So I've been listening to him nonstop. He's so good. So that's probably my top 3 right now.
Well, now everyone's going to go try to figure out who Zach Bryan is, because I'm going to go try to figure out who Zach Bryan is.
It is so good. You have to go listen. I think he's young. I don't know anything about him, but his music is really, really good.
Okay, sounds good. So when you're not prepping for swimsuit roles, whatever you have to do to stay healthy and physically fit, now you know you're having to stay on camera, model. So food is very important, but we need to know, what are the 3 junk foods / I'm taking a break meals that you're going to? Go.
Okay, so I really have been living my life lately, which makes me really happy because you have to.
Good.
We just went on a cruise. I just went on a vacation with my friends. But, okay, ice cream, pizza. Ice cream is like number 1, though. Every night I'm just like, ooh, sweet treat. Time for ice cream.
What flavor ice cream?
Oh, I love it all. I like just like I'm basic, like a soft serve twist of like vanilla chocolate, the swirl.
Okay, easy.
Yeah, easy. Pizza and any Mexican restaurant, chips, guac, quesadilla.
Okay, easy enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty basic, but it's important. Even though I am Miss USA and I am modeling, it is so important for me to find the balance, especially when I was competing for Miss USA, and to enjoy those foods and to enjoy my life and to not feel restricted, but to also be healthy and be able to fuel my body so that I can, carry out all of the jobs and travel and appearances that I have as Miss USA. And obviously I'm still working. I'm not perfect on finding that balance, but it is really important to have that.
Yeah, listen, anyone who's competed in a swimsuit competition or physical fitness on stage and has worked tirelessly to have an on-stage body knows that it's probably not going to be the exact same when you step off the stage, and that is completely okay. You've talked about that quite a bit on your social media, so can you kind of tell us a little bit more about your journey after Miss USA and like how you've kind of come down from that, like, I have to be in the gym, I have to do this, I have to do that.
It is so hard. That was the hardest thing for me after Miss USA. It wasn't that I didn't win or that I was first runner-up. The hardest thing for me was just what is normal life of eating and not always being like, I am getting ready for Miss USA. I'm sorry, I can't go out to eat Mexican with you, or I can't go out to get ice cream. And finding that balance again was really hard. After Miss USA, I gained like 10 pounds right away. And at first that was jarring, but then I realized my body needed those 10 pounds to be sustainable and to feel good, honestly, to not feel like I was depriving myself and to be able to fuel myself to work every single day. And it is really hard for pageant girls. I think that's the hardest thing, of realizing you might need a little bit of extra weight, you might need less time in the gym, you might need to eat a little bit more food to feel actually better about yourself and to fuel your body in the correct way. But after years and years of competing and, being really, I was never restrictive, thankfully. I never fell into a disordered eating. I never fell into restrictive eating just because I cannot, if I am hungry, I cannot function. I cannot even think straight.
Hangry vibes.
Yes, but it is going back to just like, if I want to go with my friends and I want to get ice cream, that's okay. And at night, I don't have to sit there and say, okay, what did I eat today? Let me think about this. Like, just not putting emphasis on food. And I think I'm finally in a place where I don't have emphasis on food and I can live my life. And when I'm hungry, I eat. And then I don't think about it after. And that's such a freeing space to be in. But it takes time. And I think it's so important after you compete to just give yourself grace. And honestly, the biggest thing for me, I got rid of the scale. I just put it in a different room and I was like, I don't need to weigh myself. Why am I weighing myself? And I feel so free after that.
Definitely. Chuck it, donate it. Somebody else might want it. But not healthy to keep checking a number that, completely doesn't mean anything about how healthy or how happy you are. So
absolutely.
I am glad that you have the platform as Miss USA to continue sharing your journey with health. It's a journey. It's always ongoing, and you're always learning something new about yourself and your body. So I'm glad that you share that with us, and we'll continue sharing that with girls as well. So one of the other things that I feel like the people need to know, you were one of those people who wore the same dress twice. Now, pageant girls are not known for that. People don't wear the same dress multiple times.
Yep.
They need to get something new and different every year. But you wore the orange dress that you won Miss North Carolina USA in at Miss USA. What led to that decision?
Yeah, it really wasn't this crazy decision of like, I'm going to do it because I think it would be iconic, or I want to be that girl. It wasn't that. I tried to get a new dress. I went to an appointment with Gregory Ellenberg. I had an appointment with Gasper. Paula and Ryan Miles. We're like looking every single day on Pinterest, and we went and tried on a ton of dresses. And every time we put something on, we loved it, but we would just ask the same question every time: is it better than the orange? And it never was. It was always no. And finally I said, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot look for a dress anymore. Nothing is going to beat the orange, and I'm just going to wear the orange. And they were like, okay, do it. I brought a backup dress to Miss USA just in case. But I am so glad that I wore it, because that dress is, I didn't expect it. I don't want to say it because it's my dress, but that dress has become iconic somehow. Like it is.
Has.
It really has. So I'm glad that I wore it. And I absolutely love that dress. I'm so thankful. Gasper Cruz, that is his baby. He completely designed that, and he sat there. It took him like 3 months every night of hand stitching beads onto it. So it was a labor of love for sure.
Well, that dress will definitely go down in history for sure as one of those dresses that we like keep on a mannequin. Like, this dress won a state pageant and technically a national title.
Yeah, technically. I know. And I wore it when I did my farewell for Miss North Carolina, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the dress in person, and it has all these holes in it because I've worn it so much. I was like, I need to go get this fixed and preserved because it's falling apart.
Yes, definitely go get it preserved. It's kind of like a wedding dress. Like, take care of it, put it in a box for sure. Yeah. So let's go back to the moment that Albany is crowned Miss Universe. Where are you watching it? What did that moment mean for you? Who was there? Who was the first person that you called? Take us through that whole moment.
Yes. So I was in New York, near Johnstown, not in the city. I had an event there. I was emceeing Miss Fulton County actually that weekend. So me and my mom and my grandma were at a hotel, and it's not that I didn't want to watch it. I just was traveling, and it was on Roku, and I don't have Roku, and I just really was watching on my phone and through people going live. And once she made, I think it was the top 5, I was like, okay, we have to figure out how to get this thing on the iPad. So we had an iPad set up in the front of the hotel room, and we were watching it. And my aunt ended up coming over to the hotel, and my mom's friend, because my mom started calling people and was like, she's in the top 3, like she's going to take it, because she was doing amazing. And they answered the top 3 question, and she knocked it out of the park. And I looked at my mom, and I was like, she's about to win Miss Universe. And when they said USA, you would have thought they called North Carolina all over again. I mean, I freaked out. I started crying. The first person who called me was Miss Paula Miles, who was my director in North Carolina. She FaceTimed me. She was crying. She was there in person. She was like, oh my God. And then Benson Odom called me, and he said, are you going to say yes? And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to say yes.
Yes!
Yeah. But it was insane. I did not sleep at all that night because I didn't know when they were going to call me, if they were going to call me. So I just had my phone on ring, and I could not fall asleep. I think I slept like 20 minutes, and then I had to MC the pageant the next day. But it was a whirlwind, that's for sure.
That is so cool. One of the moments that I was just like, oh my gosh, I was like, the top 5, like, this is about to be it. And I was like, that's so cool to kind of just see your dream come to fruition, all of the hard work that you put in throughout all of the years preparing for, various state pageants, and then seeing, yourself prepare for Miss North Carolina USA, and then you get there and you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. You have your moment up there and it's like, okay, I came a little short of the goal, and now it's like a dream that you're walking and living every day. So I think that's amazing. And obviously, like, you're one of, very few women who will ever experience a national title in this way. So what are a few of the things that you are looking forward to throughout the rest of your time as Miss USA?
I'm so excited to continue to advocate for STEM, and I have a lot of really fun things coming up with STEM and with the College of Engineering at the University of South Carolina. I'm excited because I think I can say this, it's not set in stone, but possibly me, Farron, and Arbany are going to get to do a trip together for Smile Train, maybe in Mexico. And we are just we're taking it day by day. Honestly, it is definitely a weird thing being the first runner-up and assuming it, and then a lot of schedule changes and leadership changes, and but that is the most important thing I tell everyone about being a title holder: being flexible and adaptable. So that is what we're doing.
Yes, and that's something that you surely learn along the way.
For sure. And my years of competing have set me up for success in this, and just learning how to be flexible and how to accept wins and accept losses too. So,
okay, well, you're leading yourself right into the final question, and a question that I ask every single guest on this podcast. Obviously, winning the title of Miss USA is not everyone's destiny. However, I'm a firm believer that no matter what, you can walk away a winner in some way. If you've competed in a pageant, if you are, starting a business, whatever you're doing, you can put yourself in a position to win, and that's a mindset. So I want to ask you, Morgan, how has pageantry put you in position to win?
If I had never won a Miss North Carolina, if I had never won Miss USA, if I never won any pageant, I still would have been in a position to win, because it has taught me so many things about myself. It has truly shaped me into the woman that I am. Just getting to meet so many women who are so driven and task-oriented and are passionate about the things that they love. And the people who you surround yourself with is kind of who you become. So it has made me a driven woman and a passionate woman, and it's given me interview skills, it's given me public speaking skills. I was so nervous when I first started competing for the interview, for the top 5 question, to hold the microphone and to speak. And by the end of my journey, before I even won Miss North Carolina, I was presenting at work. I was always the one that was facilitating presentations and public speaking, because I had grown so comfortable in it because of pageantry. So even if you never win, there's so many skills to learn that can make you successful in life in whatever path you're going to do after pageants.
Absolutely. Well, I am going to link your Instagram and all of those handles below so that people can continue following your journey if they aren't already. Like, who isn't already keeping up with all of the amazing things that you're doing? But I just want to thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and for being my fellow Gamecock, fellow, pageant contestant, competitor, whatever candidate we were back in the day together, and just being someone that I've enjoyed following along all throughout your years. Like, this has been really cool to see, and I'm really proud of you, and I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so proud of you. It's been so amazing to see all of the work that you do and your mentorship, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm just so honored that you had me as a guest, so thank you.
Of course, thank you. And if you're listening, be sure to follow Position to Win on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms at Position to Win. And of course, you can subscribe to us on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcast, and give us a review in the comments. And again, thank you for listening. And I hope that everyone goes out and puts themselves in position to win.